Hello writers, it's good to see you again. I am here with another grammar moment. But first, I wanted to thank you for the sweet anniversary card that you made me in class today. It was such a nice surprise, and I had no idea. I was so engrossed in my conferences that I didn't even see you sneaking around. So thank you very much. I enjoyed looking at everybody's signatures and the little notes inside. Thank you very much for that. I have a feeling that Millie is going to be very disruptive. She has been very chatty since I sat down here, and so you may hear her chirping and whining in the background, but I'm going to try to ignore her. Leo is sleeping over here, so I don't think he is going to distract us too much. We'll see. So we're going to continue talking about how authors use commas for what? Let's see if you remember. Pause and effect. So even though we might think of punctuation as something that has lots of rules attached to it, which there are lots of rules when it comes to punctuation, I want you to remember that punctuation is a tool that writers use. And in the case of commas, we can deliberately use them for pause to create the reader to take a pause, and also they are for some effect. So today we're going to take a look at a new rule, but before we take a look at the new rule, I want to revisit one that I introduced you to a couple of weeks ago. It was this one. For this particular rule, we talked about how commas are used to separate openers, sentence openers, or phrases that are apart from what we might consider to be the complete sentence. And remember, I introduced you to a WUBUS. These are the most common initial words that begin the phrase that is separated off by a comma before the complete sentence here. But I thought I would give you an example of this because this is going to help you understand today's rule. So I thought I found a sentence from Verdi that illustrates Millie. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to lift her up here and then she's going to squawk at me to get down, but we'll see if it works. You want up here? Come on. You want to say hi? Oh, no, she's going to be shy and she's going to moan and groan. Sit there and be good. Where was I? Okay, I was going to show you a sentence from Verdi that illustrated this rule. Here's the sentence. At the top of a very tall tree, Verdi gripped one branch with his tail and another with his little snake jaws. So I'm going to read the sentence part of it to you, and then we'll go back and we'll read it with the opener. So the opener is at the top of a very tall tree. So we're going to push that aside because that comes before the comma, and let me read to you the rest of the sentence, and you just check to make sure that it's a full, complete sentence. Verdi gripped one branch with his tail and another with his little snake jaws. Complete sentence, right? It's the very first sentence. You can't really see that very well. Let me go back and read it to you, and I'll show you where the opener is, where the comma goes, and then where the full sentence is. At the top of a very tall tree, comma, Verdi gripped one branch with his tail and another with his little snake jaws. So there you can see, in that sentence, it begins with a phrase that is not a complete sentence, separated with a comma, and then the full sentence. So there's a reason that I wanted to show you that first, because today's rule, we're talking about closers. So this rule was where the sentence actually began with a phrase, and we're calling that our opener, separated by a comma, then the full sentence. In today's rule, we're talking about the phrase being after the comma. So the complete sentence is here, then there's the comma, and then we have the closer. Millie, you are being naughty. Stay back there. All right, so the sentence example that I have for you here, it says, thank you for the anniversary card, comma, a nice surprise in class today. So the thing that I want to help you understand about closers is this part of the sentence is usually further describing something in the sentence. So I want you to take a look at this one right here. Thank you for the anniversary card. A nice surprise in class today. So I want you to think about what part of the sentence this little phrase further describes. I hope you're saying it's the anniversary card because that's what it is. Thank you for the anniversary card. A nice surprise in class today. If we didn't have the comma in there, it would be a run-on sentence. Thank you for the anniversary card. A nice surprise in class today. It just doesn't have the flow. The comma serves a very good purpose there. Millie, it is helping you to know where to pause because it helps clarify. It tells you a little bit more about anniversary card. Millie, you just need to sit down. I thought I would share with you a couple more sentences that fit this rule, and then I'm going to show you how I used this rule because remember, authors or writers use punctuation to help improve their piece because they want to use, especially commas, okay, seriously, kitty, for pause and effect. I'm sorry, this video is all over the place because of my highly distracting cat today. Millie, you need to behave yourself and be a good girl. Why don't you lay down? All right, so let's go back to Verdi and see if you can figure out where the comma goes. I'm going to read the sentence to you. He raced down to the river, grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. See if you can hear where the complete sentence is and where the phrase is. He raced down to the river, grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. He raced down to the river is the complete sentence. Then there's the comma, and then grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. Think about what that is further describing in that sentence. It's talking about what he was doing when he was racing down to the river. He was grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. I'm going to read it to you again without the comma, and then I'm going to read it to you again with an exaggerated pause there so that you can see how the comma helps me, the reader, read that and get a better feel for what the author is trying to communicate. First, without the comma. He raced down to the river, grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. Okay, let me read it again. He raced down to the river, grabbing up a mouthful of rough leaves. There's a different feel to it, isn't there? I have one more example to read to you, and this is from Song and Dance Man. I'm going to show you the picture because it's so cute. Here's the sentence. Oops, okay, here it is. We try on the hats and pretend we're dancing on the vaudeville stage, where the bright lights twinkle and the piano player nods his head along with the music. I want you to see how the comma placement causes me to pause, and it really helps you kind of savor the sentence a little bit more. Let me read it to you again. We try on the hats and pretend we're dancing on a vaudeville stage, where the bright lights twinkle and the piano player nods his head along with the music. It makes that comma causes you to pause. It causes you to think about the vaudeville stage. The vaudeville stage is where the bright lights twinkle and the piano player nods his head along with the music. So right there is a great example where the comma really adds to the effect here. You want to eat my paper? This is what she likes to do. She likes to rub her little face on paper and eat it. Millie. Sit down. All right, so I thought I would show you how paying attention to how authors use punctuation and then going back into your piece of writing can really help you improve your piece, and especially with use of commas, it can help you help you force your readers to pause at a certain place. So I was looking back I had added something at the beginning of my piece. I added that Aunt Pat's basement was like a dungeon because it was dark, musty, and old. And so I thought I would play around with that and see how I might use a comma there to separate a closer. Listen to how I changed that sentence. Now it says, Aunt Pat's basement was like a dungeon, dark, musty, and old. Doesn't that sound better? Let me read it to you the first way that I had it and then the second way and see if you agree that the second way is much better. Here's how I first had it. Aunt Pat's basement was like a dungeon because it was dark, musty, and old. That was the first way. But here's the change after using this. Aunt Pat's basement was like a dungeon, dark, musty, and old. I like that one. I think it sounds much better that way. I hope that you have fun continuing to revise your piece of writing this week. I hope that you will begin to think about maybe how you might deliberately use commas and punctuation to get your message across. Try playing around with commas for pause and effect. Have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.